This is about defending democracy. This is no longer Democrats versus Republicans. What do you want your kids to believe in? There must be give and take.
This is White Flag with Joe Walsh.
I'm not a fan of gag orders. That shouldn't surprise anybody. I believe in speech. I believe in free speech. And I just fear a government that would try to silence me or silence you or silence your uncle or silence the woman down the street or silence Donald Trump. I am just not a fan of silencing, restricting, or censoring speech. And this, look, I'm not a lawyer, and I've had a really well-known legal expert on my show. We talked about Trump and these gag orders, and legally he's an expert, and I'm not. I'm just politically, philosophically, I have a real problem with a court telling Donald Trump there are things he can't say. Trump's team was in front of a D.C. judge yesterday making their case against a gag order in the January 6th case to be held in D.C. Trump's team made their case, and look, Donald Trump is not someone who has ever hired the best and the brightest. That's not what he does. He hires only the best people. Remember, Trump always said that? What a bunch of fucking bullshit that was. Trump doesn't hire the best people. Not at all. Your job requirement, if you want to work for Donald Trump, is you got to lie for Donald Trump. If you can lie for Donald Trump, you can hold a job for Donald Trump. But he had his lawyers in front of the D.C. judge yesterday making the case, opposing gag orders on Trump in the January 6th Jack Smith trial. And the lawyer's take basically was, look, he's a candidate. He's running for office. You're trying to shut up his political speech. Again, I don't want to dive down here in the few moments I've got into the legalities of. Donald Trump is a criminal defendant. I understand that as a criminal defendant, there are certain things he can't say. I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't distinguish much between Trump as a criminal defendant and Trump as an American citizen. I generally believe Donald Trump as an American citizen should be able to say pretty much whatever he wants. No right is absolute. You can't specifically threaten violence against a specific individual or a specific group of people. I understand that there are restrictions on speech. There are restrictions on every right. No right is absolute. I'm a big gun guy. The Second Amendment's not absolute. I get that. I understand all of that. I'm going to make a political case here in a moment against gag orders. I philosophically oppose them. I don't believe that because Trump is a criminal defendant, he should be held to any other standard beyond what a normal American citizen is. I know that I'm up against the legal stuff, but it just doesn't seem right and it doesn't seem fair to me. On top of that, he's a candidate for office. On top of that, he's a candidate for president. He should be able to go off on Jack Smith and get pissed off at the prosecution and say it's a witch hunt. It's a wild goose chase. The deep state. Trump should, in America, have a right to say all of that. He shouldn't be able to specifically threaten violence against Jack Smith or Jack Smith's clerk or the judge or the judge's clerk, or I get that, but no American citizen can specifically use their free speech rights to specifically advocate and incite violence against someone. I just don't believe Trump, and you know how I feel about Trump. When it comes to these gag orders, should be held to any higher standard than any American citizen would be. Second point. Look, Donald Trump would wither away and die if he could not play the victim, if he could not be the victim. Trump has made a living, he's built a political career around that brand of being the victim. Nobody's been treated as unfairly as he has. He's the most persecuted person in all of human history. The deep state has been after him since he was 2 years old. On and on and on it goes. Trump is a victim, and he plays that card, and it works with more than just his base. If you impose gag orders on Donald Trump, that will just feed into this narrative that he's a victim. I worry about this, guys. Look, I don't want Trump reelected. He's an existential threat to my democracy, your democracy. I want to minimize any chances that he can get reelected. I already have a problem with, the 4 indictments, and I'm hearing from people outside of Trump's base who have told me now for months that this is piling on, for months that this is the Justice Department trying to put their thumbs on the scales of the next election. I don't want to give Trump any of that. And so the 4 indictments are one thing, and then you shut him up, and then you put gag orders on him, and he can't speak. And really his campaign is how bad and unfair and bogus all of these indictments are. You can't take that away from him. I don't think it's right. It's not fair, but it will only help him politically. Imposing gag orders on Donald Trump will only help him politically and increase his chances of winning next year. I really believe that. Look, we need to do all we can to make sure he doesn't win. And by the way, I want to beat him fair and square. And by the way, I want to spank him. I want to beat him by a lot. I don't want him to have any excuse that he can hold on to. Any excuse, like a bogus indictment or like a bunch of gag orders. They shut me up for 9 or 10 months. I don't want to give him any of that. I want to beat him fair and square, and I want to beat him bad. I just don't like these gag orders. And I hope that this judge rules and the other judge rule that at most they are very limited or not at all. I'm Joe Walsh. Thanks for listening. This is White Flag with Joe Walsh. My email is one word, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow White Flag with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been White Flag with Joe Walsh.